Welcome back. We've got our last example. So example 5. Okay, so for these examples, for these 3 problems that we're looking at, write a recursive rule for the sequence and then write the next 2 terms of the sequence. Okay, now you guys, for these, the recursive rule is going to be just a little bit different. Okay? So for these, if we just kind of start looking, like especially at number 20, like if I'm going from 2 to 4, I am adding 2. And then if I go from 4 to 6, okay, I'm adding 2 again. Good. Now, when I go from 6 to 10, you guys, all of a sudden I'm adding 4. And then from 10 to 16, I'm adding 6. And then from 16 to 26, I'm adding 10. So it's not like this is a special, like a very easily noticeable recursive or arithmetic, but it actually is arithmetic. Um, and maybe just looking at it, some of you guys can pick it up and you're like, oh, I know exactly what it is. We are doing addition, but here is actually what happens, you guys. In order to find, so we don't necessarily know where the first and second term come from, but we can figure out where the third term comes from, where this 6 comes from. That's coming from the previous 2 terms and adding them together. And then to find the fourth term, it would be adding the 2 previous terms together. So you have to take and add the 2 previous terms together. And that, as you guys are probably looking and calculating, yep, if you take 10 plus 6, that'll give you 16. If you take 10 plus 16, that'll give you 26. That pattern continues. So for this particular recursive rule, you need to define the first 2 terms. So you need to say that a sub 1 is 2 and a sub 2 is 4. Okay? Now, some of you are probably thinking, well, okay, Mrs. K, that's great, but how do I come up with this rule now? Okay, so this rule requires us to go ahead and say, we are going to do a sub n minus 2. So like if we were trying to find the third term, that's 6, we would go back 2 numbers. So that's where the 2 would be placed. That's where it came into play right there. And then plus a sub n minus 1. So again, from that 6, the 4. So the 4 is taking place. 2 plus 4 gives you 6. So a sub n minus 2 means that you're going back 2 terms. And then a sub n minus 1 means that you're going back 1 term. So then the last part of the directions say, then write the next 2 terms of the sequence. So after that, you would have to take 16 plus 26, and that would give you 42 for the next term. And then you'd have to take 26 plus 42, and that will give you 68. So those are the next 2 terms in this sequence. If you're feeling very motivated and you want to try number 21 on your own, go ahead, pause the video. See if you can figure out the next one or even next 2 on your own. Would be really cool. But for 21, so again, we're kind of looking at it and we're saying, okay, now 1 to 3, normally you would just add 2. And then here's the real kicker, going from 3 to negative 2. Now that's kind of weird. Like, what's the pattern there? How am I supposed to figure that one out? And again, it's just a matter of this time. So like the last one, the last one you were adding. For this one, you guys are actually taking the previous 2 terms and you are subtracting them. So 1 minus 3 gives you negative 2. 3 minus negative 2. So again, remember, if you're subtracting a negative, you end up adding. That'll give you 5. Negative 2 plus 5, or excuse me, negative 2 minus 5 gives you negative 7. 5 minus negative 7 gives you 12. So that's actually how these two, that's how these numbers are alternating signs, is because you're subtracting, and when you subtract a negative, you end up adding. So again, for this one, you have to go ahead and you have to define the first two terms. So you need a sub 1 is 1, and then a sub 2 is 3. And then from there, kind of following the same pattern as the previous example, you're doing a sub n equals a sub n minus 2, and then you're just subtracting instead of adding. A sub n minus 1. And then finding the next two terms, if you take negative 7 minus 12, that gives you negative 19. And then negative 12, sorry, that's not negative 12. What am I thinking? That's positive 12. And then you subtract negative 19. Again, make sure you add those two terms together. That gives you 31. Okay. Then the last one. Again, I don't expect you guys to necessarily try this one on your own, but maybe, again, you can kind of figure it out since, you know, these examples are staying pretty similar. 1 to 2, 2 to 4, or 1 to 2, 2 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 32. This time, you're taking the previous two terms and you're just multiplying them. 2 times 2 gives you 4. So make sure that you define the first two terms. A sub 1 is 1. A sub 2 is 2. So then you're just taking a sub n. What is happening? Okay, sorry. So a sub n equals, that's what I wanted to do, a sub n minus 2 times a sub n minus 1. And then the next two terms, so you're taking 8 times 32, so that next term will be 256, and then 32 times 256, that'll give you 8,192. And I am done. So if you have any questions, please make sure you write them down or you highlight some things that you were having trouble with. But your videos for section 6, 7 are done. And then tomorrow you'll come in, we'll talk about whatever questions you guys have. You'll have some work time and we'll go from there. All right, have a great night, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.